At long last, a high-performance, highly automated speed demon of a helicopter available now in Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's the Sikorsky S-76C++, modelled by Cowan Simulation in MSFS 2020 and tested here in one of my notoriously detailed reviews in MSFS 2024. It's an MSFS Marketplace exclusive. That's the only place you'll find it, and it costs about US $37 or your local equivalent. So what is this machine for? Oil rig transfers, this machine is practically built for it. Corporate charters, that too. Air ambulance, check. And if you're coming from airliners, particularly with 1990s style avionics, you'll already have some familiarity as you take on this enjoyable challenge. I can tell you up front, this is the best thing Cowan Simulation has done. I am loving it, and I am going to tell you why. I'll show you the stack of included liveries, I'll show you the exterior detailing, I'll take you around the cockpit and show you how to fly it smoothly. And I'm really going to focus on showing you how to get around the depth in the autopilot system. So stay with me for the whole thing, or use the chapter markers as you wish. I requested and I was given a copy of the product for purposes of review. This is not a paid video. All opinions within are 100% my own. I'm recording this in late August 2025, and Cowan Sim has just released an update which addresses issues around Xbox controls, cockpit graphics, and some strange engine readings. So if you saw my earlier preview, things have already stepped up with this new update. So let's take the controls of this sleek, speedy machine and let's fly. And there is one thing I can tell you about Cowan Sim helicopters, and that is that you always get a stack of liveries in your pack, and that is no exception with the S-76. So let's have a quick look at some of them. In 2024, we only show up with one variant, and that's what it looks like. It thinks it's got floats with wheels that it can land on water. I've not actually put that to the test yet. So that's just what that appears like in there. That's just not really an issue for later on. Identification, not to be worried about too much because all the registrations are painted on. Okay, so we're not talking about dynamic liveries for you to adjust in Sim at this stage. All right, so here we have a sort of a default Cowan Sim livery, and we've got so many options down here. Malaysia, Trinidad, a bunch from Canada. I'm just going to sort of mouse wheel through them like this, and just at least so you can see how many there are. Some German ones. Now, this reminds me of something. Here's an air ambulance machine. So if I were to select this and spawn in with it now, it doesn't necessarily mean I'll have the ambulance interior. I've got a choice of 3 interiors. Those interiors are chosen actually when I get inside the machine. It's just a switch controlled in the tablet inside the machine. It's instantaneous. It happens inside the machine, not at this point. So it'll just, I think, remember whatever you went in with last time. All right, let's continue our journey through here. A bunch of British ones here as well. Some pretty fancy looking liveries here. There's the one I used in my preview initially. And yes, lots more to look at there. I mean, they just go on and on. I mean, you are going to find surely liveries that you like here. South Korea, Japan, excellent. Love seeing those. And then, unsurprisingly, an absolute stack of liveries from the USA, as you would expect, I think, for a Sikorsky helicopter. Lots and lots and lots and lots to choose from there. They just keep on coming, people. You could not be disappointed, surely, with the options you have here. It really does just keep going. I mean, how many are we up to here? I haven't even counted them. Got a couple of Dutch ones here as well. Lovely. And we conclude almost here to the end. Almost to the end. Wow. With a couple of Australian machines there as well. So, look, I think we've got plenty to choose from there. I'll choose a couple that take my fancy as we go throughout. So, I think time to hop in a machine and at least take a look at the exterior. And I have chosen the location of Stewart, British Columbia for this one. It's a handcrafted airport in Microsoft Flight Simulator. That's Alaska over there on the right. Might go and have a bit of a look at that later on. And a good place for us to have a close-up look at our Sikorsky S-76. And here is the S-76 in full length. It's a scaled-down Black Hawk, intriguingly. The Sikorsky company in the mid-70s thought that they might like to convert their Black Hawk technologies into a civilian format, and this is what they came up with. It doesn't look much like a Black Hawk, but nonetheless, you can think of it as a scaled-down version. Yes, and I've chosen this corporate liveried Canadian machine. I hope you like it too. And what do we think here? Just having a quick look in here. Why don't I start at the landing gear? It's been nicely modelled. This is nicely animated too. If you looked at my ILS tutorial, I did an ILS landing in the S-76, and this is all nicely animated, so all the bumps and lumps on the runway is transmitted nicely through the various linkages here, and it's looking pretty good. What do we got up here? I think this bottle is associated with the floats. So I'm not sure if those floats are actually modelled in this rendition, but not that I've managed to make them work, but that's what those are for. So that's what it looks like in here. Quite a bit of detail. Slightly glossy appearance on some of the surfaces there, but not too bad, I don't think. Now, this diagonal kind of finished lines here on this livery is where you're going to pick up things like pixelization. And look, yes, you can see it there, but is it too bad? It's kind of medium to high resolution, I would think. Not too bad. And things like the decals, you can see that they are very high resolution, so no problems there at all. And there's a little bit of 3D modeling on things like the fuel caps and the door handles there, so that's looking pretty good. And just extra bits of details around the window frames there and the rivets or the screws, so that's looking, I think, all right. This is a 2020 machine, so we don't get the infinite detail when we get up close there. This machine's really going to benefit because, especially in a corporate livery like this, you can imagine when you get up nice and close, seeing that wonderful glossy, sparkly finish that you can achieve kind of for free in 2024 because it does it for you. It's going to really benefit machines like this. It's going to be great. Oh, that's a nice brushed metal finish on the door handle there. That looks just great. Looking reasonably good here. Nice details here, and we don't get the benefit of that sort of refractive finish on the acrylic or whatever the material is that's used in the windows there that we would get in 2024, but it looks like a nice deal of dimensionality there. Pitot tubes there. Now, about this nose, I remain slightly confused about it. This nose is not as pointy as what I would expect this real machine to be. It's a sort of, this nose here is shorter and rounder as in maybe an S-76A would have been. All of the C model photos that I've seen have a longer and pointier nose. Not dramatically so, maybe they get out to about here, and that is pointier and lower. So yeah, they sort of point a bit lower down here. So not quite too sure then what exactly era model this is based on, but yes, so just in case you're wondering about the nose there, that landing light's in an interesting position, isn't it? So it's not fully stowed, it's just on an angle there. I think when I switch the machine on and twiddle the knobs, that will come right. Yes, there we go. Bit of sort of slightly glossy finish on those textures in there, but nicely modelled, lots of detail in the modelling there. Looking pretty good. Looking pretty good in the nose wheel assemblies there. I'll come around, we'll get and have a look around inside soon. Things like the lights look like those textures, that light detail's painted on, I think. So we're not modelled inside there, but that would be getting quite extra on the level of detail. Static ports, antennae. Let's have a look at, whoops, that's zooming in. Let's have a look up here and look at the rotor assembly. Yeah, that's looking really good. That's looking really good. Look, it'd be a pretty tough taskmaster to not be impressed with that level of modelling in there, and some of the greasy detailing and the texturing there. That looks really nice. I'm impressed with that. Really good work. Terrific stuff. I think that's good, and it's animated too, so I can show you that when we get inside with the anti-torque pedals. Now, the C++, isn't it? This is the 76C++, armed as it is with the twin Ariel Turbomeca turbo shafts. And, yeah, so you could almost think of it as having double the pulling power of a Squirrel H125 helicopter. Look at all the detail up here. Wow, it's quite something, isn't it? The rotor hub on one of these machines. It's really something. I'll do my best to explain some of this to you. These two top kind of four-hubbed things on top of the rotor hub are anti-vibration systems. Now, I don't know exactly how it all works, but they this material here is sprung and loaded, and it contributes to cancelling movement, translational movement in the plane of the rotor. So that cancels some of the vibration. And you can see we've got another one down here as well, repeated, but just orientated differently there. I think they are tuned at different resonances or different frequencies. So they add, I think, or it just gives further possibilities to its anti-vibrational technology, and there's a reservoir of lubrication up the top there for the anti-vibration stuff. Interesting stuff, isn't it? Really quite a complex looking arrangement there. And if you're wondering what that tilt's about, there is quite a considerable cant forwards. So if I come out here, my camera is orientated correctly, but you can see the main rotor is tilted forwards quite considerably, which means, what does it mean, do you suppose, when we lift? Where will we want our cyclic? Correct answer, considerably aft. Unless you're doing a running start. If you want to pick up on the spot, you will need considerable aft cyclic on this machine. So we'll try that soon. So, fully articulated rotor system. It can lead and lag with this assembly here. Each rotor blade can lead and lag with this assembly here. The pitch of each rotor, of course, blade is actuated with this here off the rotor, the swash plate, which we see beneath. There's a feathering, which means that each rotor blade can move up and down independently as well, is stopped with this device here. And the droop is suspended with this device down here. So there's a lot of detail in here, and it looks stunning. Actually, I think this is this is an impressive piece of work. There's a lot of detail in here. I'm liking what I'm seeing a lot. Impressive stuff, really impressive stuff. So let's where else should we go in here? Have a look at the intakes. You wouldn't want to be putting your face in there, I don't think, in ordinary circumstances. So we don't have any walk-around functionality, this being a 2020 developed aircraft. So until Cowan Sim updates this for full 2024 functionality, no nice details like walk-around, opening panels, that sort of thing. So let's get a look inside the cockpit then. Oh, I've left the tablet deployed there, but we'll get to that. Materials in here, carpet. Some very glossy looking tracks there for your feet, I would think. All right, so we're looking just fine in here. bit of a mixed approach to weathering on some of these textures, like a very weathered looking cyclic, but quite a smooth looking console here. I think an appropriate level of wear as I look at these instruments here, I mean, I think that's probably about right. I'm very close. This is a small instrument, the standby attitude indicator. And the surrounds, the instrument itself looks, oops, sorry, looks really good. Oh, no, it's too close, Matthew. Looks really good. Lots of, yeah, excellent high level of detail on the instrument itself. All the instruments, actually, looking over those. And the surrounds, at least medium resolution. Normal usage back here, I think, look okay. And here we have on the Copilot side, some of the things repeated. And some other ones as well. Not everything is fully repeated, so I noticed things like the Autopilot panel. I'll get into this when we actually start flying, but yes, not all of the switches actually work on that side. There's a bit of an overhead panel here, more circuit breakers. I think all the circuit breakers pop, but I don't think any of them have functionality. So I don't know that you can really disable systems by turning these on and off. That's the way things currently stand. I haven't really tested them all, though. That'd be a lot to test. Not noticing a lot of fire test functionality, so I've had a minor play with those. So I don't know that fire test functionality has been modeled. I'm liking this texturing on the head lining, I suppose you'd call it. That looks good. And we'll look at these T-bars. These are all modeled and animated, so these are looking good. So good work up here. Oh, the light's been left on. That's not good. There's our circuit breaker panel. Oh, that's the main lot of circuit breakers there. Quite an intimidating look of a lot of switches and things here, but it's actually it's not quite as scary as it looks. Once you know what you're doing here, it's actually pretty easy to operate. So we'll get into that soon. I'm really sort of looking more at materials at the moment. A slightly smooth kind of finish here. This has been improved actually. In the preview video I made, I didn't much like the kind of chipped or worn material here, but that's been improved with a higher resolution texture and it looks a bit better now. Significantly better actually, I should say. So I have left the executive interior on in the back here. It's switchable inside the aircraft. I like the step animates, so that's looking really good down here. Pretty smooth around here, like not a lot of detail, and I don't know how much detail there ought to be in here. I just imagine there might have been more in here, but there's not. I am not familiar with the interior fittings of an S-76 executive door, but I just imagine there might be more. Okay, anyway, so rather than explore my ignorance of what a door should look like, here's our interior cabin with some coffee makers, very nice. The leather finish here is looks a little bit vinyl-y to me, but carpet on the sort of the bulkhead look here. It's kind of a bit of a 80s look in here, isn't it? Which is good. I mean, it's these are not the newest, most modern machines. I like this kind of glossy wood finish here. Maybe a little bit blocky in the modelling, but maybe, I don't know, maybe this is how they looked inside. So that's what they've done with the executive interior. Let's get into the cockpit for a little bit more of a look at the functionality in there. So I think this is about where I left the tablet, and why did I show you as well the offshore cabin? And that's what that will look like with 12 seats squished in here. I just switched the visibility of the pilots back on. A bit of a featureless column here and reasonably simple detail on those seats there. I can ask for people to be loaded in so you can see the weight of the helicopter comes in there a bit more. So here we go, some people loaded up here. Hello people, passengers waiting to go out to an oil rig. That's what you would do, you would get them loaded in like that. I'm disappointed there's not a switch here to toggle the luggage compartment. What I have to do, it's a bit annoying, I just need to go out in the cockpit camera and go around here if I wanted to operate this. So that's a button that would be much better placed here on the tablet. So please, Cowan Sim, just a button there also for the luggage hatch. That would be great. One last one, the HEMS cabin with medical equipment. There we go, with people all loaded up in here. That's what your HEMS cabin will look like. Okay, and that's selected, as I said, from within the helicopter, not from the livery. And you can have there we go, an animated stretcher. Clonk, out you come. There you go. Very good, like that. So let's put those ones away and we'll go back to the luxury cabin, and I'll just put in a couple of passengers there like that, and you saw the weight come in as well. So other things that we've got in here, we've got a checklist, which is the exact same text checklist that is in here. Now, this is 2020 format. It does not have the kind of the viewing click spots in here to show you where it is on the panel. That's a pity. It'd be nice to see that come in. Also, I have worked with a real-life 76 pilot in the Cowan Sim Discord. Hello to you. You know who you are. I very much appreciate your dedication to making this thing as good as it can be. We have made a new checklist, and we have given it to Josh Cowan to include in a future update. So this checklist, this will work. But we have improved it and made things a bit clearer and a bit neater. So I'm going to run that today, and you will have the benefit of that when that gets included in the add-on, I hope, soon. Right, so what else can I show you about the documentation? The manual here really is just a list of keyboard bindings. Not good enough. The manual, the documentation was inadequate. I think that's been acknowledged. And here again, the Autopilot guide, it's all right. It's just a list of descriptions of what all the different modes do, which I'll attempt to explain myself as we go. So, yes, it's a pity that the documentation was not able to be done better. At least I can do videos like this now for you with the benefit of the professional input that we've had on the Cowan Sim Discord since launch. So thank you to the real life pilots who have been very generous with making sure that people get the most out of this machine. Well, let's start to run our new checklist. So what we need to do is get these doors closed. Did I close that one back there? No, I didn't. So let's do that. There you go. I can do it like that as well. And that one. So before start, we need to secure and close the doors, and I'll just whiz around the outside there. I did remember to do that one as well. Good. All right. After doors are closed as well. And the controls, we center the controls, and we put the collective down. Yes, good. Right. Standby indicator is over here. All right. So we turn that on. And nice details all animated in there. There it comes. That's good. So if you lose everything else on the helicopter, at least you've still got this standby attitude indicator. So we've tested that. I can hold that down, and on battery, it's got its own battery as well. So that's working there. And we can then turn that off. Oh, I could have remembered to just pull to cage it. Yeah, all right, there we go. That's all fine. So the standby attitude indicator is all good. Right. Landing gear handle is down. The emergency retract or emergency extension T handle is in. That's correct. In real life, if your extension doesn't work, then you've got an emergency extension here to try and force the gear down. That's what that's for. Right, so now we start to look at this intimidating panel. It's not too bad, as I said, once you know what you're doing. We're going to deal with it in a bit of a flow here, and we're going to start with the right side console top row, and it's the master electrical power, which are going to turn all of them on except for the external power. So the battery comes on, and some screens will start coming to life. The two DC generators on, the AC generator on, and the master start to enable the turbine start. It all comes on, apart from the external power. Next row, the inverters we want off, and we want the radios off as well. So everything off on this row. Anti-icing panel, everything off. So we have window heating on there, so that's why we check. So we want all of this off. Second row, we've got wipers off. We want logo lights off. We want the passenger advice signs. We want them on the passenger advice signs. We want on fasten seatbelts and no smoking. Cabin lights we want off, and emergency lights we want off. The third row is concerned with exterior lights, and these always come up a bit strange. So High intensity strobe lights we want off. Strobe position we want forward, so that's both. Anti-coal we want both. Main rotor lights, it's these kind of cool blue, look like LEDs in the rotor blade tips, kind of looks pretty nice at night. As required, off for now, so our landing light off, and the position will have off as well, so that's all fine. In fact, if I stow that, that might just put that weird position of that thing away. Right, barrier filter. Now, this is a sort of a particle filter in the front of the engine intakes, and what we do is we test this. And that's all fine here, but we get now we get a warning up here on this display, power assurance and barrier filter caution, which I reset by holding this button down for 5 seconds, and then that will clear on the display up there, so that's a successful barrier filter check. The UNS-1, we've got a basic FMS in this aircraft, and it's the UNS-1. It's the same as what you would find on the Saab 340 inside MSFS 2024. I'm not going to be too concerned with that today, so I just accept that. And to welcome our passengers on board, we are going to play them the welcome tape.
Good afternoon and welcome aboard the Cowan Sim S-76. We're proud to have you flying with us today. Before we depart, please ensure your seatbelt is fastened low and tight across your lap. Remain seated at all times during flight and keep clear of the doors. This aircraft is equipped with emergency exits on both sides, and your pilot will guide you in the event of an emergency. We're committed to your comfort and safety, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight.
All right, so there's that. Love that feature. I think that's cool. So I'll advance that to get the next one ready. Take off. Okay, engine start checklist. Engine out test. That's down here, bit of a strange position. Just an alarm for when an engine fails. Parking brake. Up is on, down is off, so we want that up. Circuit breakers. Now, these, I'll just randomly pull one. Don't have functionality, but they do work. As far as I know, they don't have functionality. I have not tested them all. Right, rotor brake. Now, the rotor brake is up here. I don't know how to lock it into position. So even with the toggle, I think it just immediately turns itself off. So that's the rotor brake there. And there is a warning on here as well for when that's engaged. So it is not engaged and there's no warning. That's good. Headsets. Let's get these headsets on. One for me, one for the co-pilot. Thank you. Bleed air off. We want all of our power for our engines on takeoff, please. So that is on, that is off. Fuel levers. Now, if you've used the MH60, you might be familiar with this arrangement up here. So we have our fuel levers full forward to cross-feed from our 2 tanks. And that's like that. First engine lever into idle. So let's just bring this forward into idle. And the start button is up here on top. And if you can't quite reach that, you can left-click on the lever and right-click it to start, as soon as we've checked that the area is clear. Is it clear? We're looking good to start our engine. So let's go. So we can left-click and then right-click. I think I just clicked it a bit too fast the first time, and hold it down for a few seconds, and the turbine starts up. And there we go. Our powerful S-76 rotor starts to spin. That's what I want to see. And N1 is coming to life. We've not overheated anything in the temperature here. Temperature is called T5, so that's how it tells you its turbine temperature. Tremendous. 51.6 on the N1. Oil pressure has come alive in engine 1, and the gen light for engine 1 has gone out. Notice that engine 2 DC gen is still illuminated. That's good. So with all that done, we can turn on the inverters. And we can advance to about 50%, so achieve 70%, 50% lever position to achieve 50% N1. So we just do it slowly. 70% N1 I meant. So 50% lever position for about 70% N1. Don't need to over torque anything, so we just advance it slowly. There's 50% on there. And we've got 68.7% N1. And we've just about achieved 65%. Maybe just a little bit more on the throttle, please. 64% now on the rotor speed. So NR is your rotor speed. We have achieved 64%. 65 now, which is what we wanted. So we check our hydraulics are in the green. They are hide 1 and 2. Flight controls, we just check that we've got movement. We just check that we've got 1 inch of freedom here. We do. And tiny bit of collective there as well. Yes, we do. So that's all good. Alright, so now we do the same for engine 2. We bring that forward 1 inch, we start it, left click and now right click. I can hear it, there we go, and we monitor down here. N1 is alive. We keep an eye on temperature. If you had a hot start, I'm not sure the hot starts are modelled, but I could whip back that T-bar right there. And that will kill both the throttle and the fuel flow and do what it needs to do with fire extinguishing. But I don't know that any of that is actually modelled in here, but this is animated, which is kind of cool. And it does pull those back as well at the same time, which is nice to see. So we have got an engine start here, and let's just bring ourselves up to idle. Well, it's about the same point as our engine 2 is at least there. So we've cleared all our warnings on here now. Only AC gen is left, which I think always happens. I think it comes on when we're below 85% on here, so I can cycle that with the... Yeah, so that will clear later on. So I can turn on the radio master, the EFIS masters, and we've got most things on powered now, which is good. A little Cowan Sim copyright down there, that's nice. Weather radar can come to standby. We're now on the after engine start checklist. Emergency lights, we can go to ARM. GPS flight plan, I'm not going to be doing any GPS flight plans here. We've got a beautiful day in Stewart, so I'll just show you on here what we'll do. We'll just take a bit of a visual tour up here. Depending on how enthusiastic I get, we could go and have a look at the Salmon Glacier. Otherwise, we'll just be doing a bit of hand flying here to see what it's like. Same, so we don't need any navigation sources on the horizontal situation indicator for the purposes of this flight, and avionics are not required for this visual flight. Same with transmitters and instruments. Although instruments, yes, everything's in the green, looking fine down here. And no indications on the engine control lights up here. So we're all looking very good up there. So... confirm fly and direct. Now we're on the before taxi checklist. Confirm fly and direct. Sorry, a bit of a bump there just as I've just advanced that a bit too fast. Sorry, I actually bumped my throttle and then I'm already up now at 100% NR. I should have done that a bit slower. And so we, in a slightly too rapid sense, have achieved our flight rotor speed, which is good. Transmission and hydraulic is all in the green. Radar altimeter is set. We've got 0. And decision height says 200 on here. Oh, and we've got a warning here. That says decision height. I think that's just when the radar altimeter will warn you. So it gives you an audible beep when you pass below that radar height there. Altimeter set and cross-check. Well, I'm just going to cheat and use the comma key. Annunciator panel, we've got no warnings. Super. Doors and hatches are secure. We've done that. Navigation, anti-collision, landing lights as required. Well, let's get those on. Let's get the strobe light on because we're right by the runway. We'll get the landing lights, get everything on. Navigation, radio page here. So, we've got 2 pages on the radios, and this is COM 1 and NAV 1 over here, and COM 2 and NAV 2 over here, although I can swap 1 and 2 with that switch. And then I can put on my standby frequencies by selecting that box there and using these 2 knobs. Then swap from inactive to active using this key over here. And if I hear anything on there today, I will just change it to something else. So we don't have to hear it. Right, so we are ready to run our before takeoff checklist. So let me just have a look around here. I'll just reset that view back into here. How are we looking at here, people? Fly through the rotor blade. That's nice. Looks like the car's finally... Oh, the car's even more in the way now. I have to skillfully navigate my way past that. Okay, I've got winds calm, so there's really nothing for us to worry about here in terms of weather today. Nice calm day in Stewart, Canada. Parking brake release, and we've got tow brakes here, so you can see me operating the tow brakes there. Parking brake can go down, and I'll just hold the tow brakes for now. Get my trusty input viewer ready. And I found that it doesn't appear to be compatible with Flight Control Replay in 2024 in that the blades will stop turning, or no, that's the MH60. I'll get a rotor speed warning, and it doesn't tend to like it very much. I'll just run it anyway just in case. So we are on fly and direct, running the before takeoff checklist. No warnings on the annunciator panel. I appear to have lost my radios. That's interesting. Why have I lost my radios? Because that was in the off position. How did I bump that? Interesting. So a small problem here is that I cannot change the transponder into alt mode using this. So there appears to be some missing functionality on this page 2. Not quite sure what's going on there, but we would like, please, Cowan Sim to have the functionality to change the transponder mode on here, please. We're all fine here on our instruments. Exterior lights, we've done those. Anti-icing, let's just get the pitot heats on. That's all I'm going to do there. Weather radar, not required, so we can just leave that in standby. TCAS, TA only, so that's just done by choosing this and moving that to TA only. There's your TCAS display over there. I've not actually tested that in VATSIM or anything yet, so I'm not quite sure if that's all working. Passenger advisory, we've done that, so we'll just ding it again. Cabin passengers briefed, play to takeoff. So I've already advanced that. Play.
We're about to lift off. Please remain seated with your seatbelt securely fastened.
Sip your champagne, people.
Thank you for choosing Cowan Sim.
I propose we get out to this runway. So the briefing is going to be, I'm going to fly down the sound here, and then I'm going to fly back. So I'm going to do a bit of a circuit like that. I'm going to hand fly it initially, and we'll see what you think. We'll see what we think. So normally what we do here is we turn the autopilots on, autopilot 1, autopilot 2, and we leave it in SAS mode, although you can put it into attitude mode. So by default, with the autopilots on, stability augmentation, or SAS, is always on. And if we want any further autopilot functionality, we will enable attitude mode as well. I'm going to leave it in SAS for now. If you want any other navigation functionality off here, any kind of lateral navigation modes, then you will want to change the flight director select to 2 if you want to fly it from this side of the machine. If you want to fly it from that side of the machine, you leave it on 1. Otherwise, 2. Alright, so we have done that. We have done the flight director. We're not going to arm the altitude pre-select just yet because I'm going to fly this circuit by hand. Float arm switch, float's not required. And I'm going to leave the landing gear down for this circuit. I'm not going to retract landing gear. So I'm going to take my feet off the toe brakes. I'm going to enable my head tracking, and we're going to go flying, people, at last. So, what's it like to taxi? I'm going to pull a little bit of collective and we get moving. It's as simple as that. Pull a little bit of collective and the machine starts rolling. That's all that's required. Maybe I'll pull a little bit more. And to steer, it's just you can use differential braking, that works. We don't have nose wheel steering. We've got a free castering nose wheel. You don't want to be taking these corners tight and fast. I'll have to go across that grass there because that is a silly place to leave that generator. That's what that is. So something else that's been fixed since the preview is the erroneous temperature warnings. Getting a bit bumpy here on the grass. That if I didn't have the stick perfectly centered, I was getting very strange warnings in there. So yes, it's nicer to not have all of that unnecessary temperature and other stuff going on that were not helpful to us to operate the aircraft. Right. So the limit on the wheels, if we were to do a rolling takeoff, is 54 knots. So you can get along at quite a high rate of knots on the wheels. I'm going to do a standing start. A standing start, is that what I mean? So I'm going to put my feet on the toe brakes. I'm going to pull back the cyclic aft. I'm going to lift the collective, and we should see the nose wheel coming off the ground like that. And I'm just going to try and hold it there, and I'm going to keep lifting collective. Try and cancel out some of that lateral movement. Not quite as smooth as it could have been, but we have more or less picked up smoothly and achieved a stable hover. Not too bad. Alright, so that's pretty easy to hover. I'm not having to do too much here. I just have to relax my hand on the cyclic as usual. I've let it edge forward now. Look at that. Fabulous machine. Very hard to fly it from that angle though. Fabulous machine. Picks up speed very, very easily. So let us let it pick up its speed. We'll fly a right-hand circuit here. We're in SAS mode. So you can see that SAS mode seems to be putting in some input into the input viewer. I'm not circling the cyclic around like that. The helicopter is doing that. So that's 70% torque. We've given it hardly anything really. We're at 80 knots. Pull a little bit more collective just to get us moving up here. And we'll start a turn to the right. No autopilot functionality here other than stability augmentation. Just keep my vertical speed reasonably stable here as I just turn around here. As I've started to climb though. There we go, that's better. Stay on the side of the valley. It's super smooth and easy and stable to fly. It's really nice, and it doesn't have any of that strange artifice that I found in the Miltech MH60. I would say that I really wish the MH60 flew like this Cowan Sim S-76. I really wish that were the case, because this flies beautifully. This is a highly automated, stable machine, and I'm not having to do a whole lot right now, and it's glorious to fly. It really is. I mean, I love hands-on flying and a manual helicopter as well, but, you know, for our corporate flyers out the back. Did I remember to play the takeoff tape? Did I remember to play? Yes, I did play that, didn't I? So we'll play them the landing one in a second. So I'll need a bit of a tight turn here. So our limit with the wheels, I think, is it's either 120 or 130. So I think we are just fine with the wheels down still. I've done a pretty good job with that. We're lined up perfectly. So the parking brake is down. Didn't pay too much attention to whether that turn was coordinated. And all I'm doing is just keeping it straight and steady and lowering the collective and keeping us, I'm just using a little bit of right cyclic there to get us back on the runway center line. This is just an absolute glorious joy to fly like this. It really is. Where are we at? 65 knots. This would be a bit too fast to touch down like this. Remember, it was 54 knots, I think, the limit on the wheels, so we'd rather better bleed off some of that speed up here rather than too close to the runway. You can see that magenta trend now, so that's good. So we'd be safe now, but I'll let us continue a bit further down. Gosh, it's easy to fly. It's so easy to fly. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So we'll try a little bit of maneuvering here, shall we? I'll artfully... Well, I'll just touch it on the runway first. At about where the intersection is, and then... Well, I'll keep the car in sight, and then we'll... Yeah, okay, let's go down here. Oh, you're rolling backwards. Maybe if I wanted it to touch down and hold the spot, maybe the keeping the parking brake on could have been a good idea there. So, something I thought would be nice would be to show you the flight control replay of that not particularly great landing, and then I got myself into a complete mess. Call it hubris. The S-76 thought it was having an engine fire, one of the engines stopped working, I got some other weird readings, the rotor stopped spinning at the proper rate, and it just was a complete disaster. So instead, I have changed my plans. As you can see, I've got Navigraph charts up, and I am making a new route here. And here is the updated plan. We will proceed south from Stewart. We will take a right-hand turn. We will have a quick look at that Salmon Glacier from here, and we will proceed cross-country over Alaska and take a ILS approach, so I can demonstrate that functionality into Ketchikan, Alaska. So that's convenient. So I think that's going to work nicely. That will allow me to demonstrate the heading mode, the navigation mode, the ILS mode, and those are the lateral modes, and as well as the vertical speed mode, the altitude pre-select mode, and once we are on that ILS, the decel mode. So just about all the modes. IAS, I didn't mention IAS, we'll get that as well. So normally this screen here will start in something that is not the LNAV, so we'll get this over to LNAV, and then it will be looking at the flight plan that I've entered over here. So that's what we have done for this interesting flight, and so I think that's all ready to go. And what we need to do is look on our autopilot panel down here. First of all, make sure if you want to use your navigation source from here that you have Flight Director 2 selected. That's 1 over here, that's 2 over here. So 2. Notice that I've got this on a switch on my stick, SAS at, alright? So I want that on SAS. You could take off an at, I just don't much like the way it feels, so I'm going to take off in SAS just with stability augmentation on only. Then I will go into attitude hold mode, where it will just keep the selected attitude. I will need to be careful about keeping my stick neutral, because that can really interfere with the autopilot functionality. And then what will we do? We will be climbing out gently, and I will engage VS. Now VS will only engage once I've got attitude mode on, and I will engage heading. So heading, we can control, watch the heading bug here. I can control it with this knob down here, or I could synchronize it with a left click and a right click to take my current heading. So I think that's all good. So soon after takeoff, I will ask for heading hold and vertical speed hold. Let's go. So parking brake down. Head tracking on. Stick neutralized. Collective raised. Moving forward. Rolling start. Pulling more collective. Counteracting the tendency for an American-built helicopter to move to the left, roll to the left. And we're looking good here. Bring the nose down. Let speed build. Go into AT mode. Centralize the stick. VS hold. Oh my god. What was that? I should have just held my current VS. I don't know what that movement was. And heading mode. Heading hold. What on earth was up with that bizarre movement? Should have just taken my current vertical speed, so it didn't need to throw the machine around like that. I'm not quite sure what happened there. So gear goes up, bleed air comes on, pitot heat searchlight, we can bring the landing lights off, and we fly into Alaska over there. In fact, I might have left that a bit late, so let's just get that moving here. Might need to expedite this climb, so we'll ask for it to go 1,000 feet a minute. So I'm using the longitudinal cyclic trim. So Cowan said this is not looking great, is it, this turn? Alright, let's get into SAS and we'll pull this back like this. Sorry, passengers. There we go. A bit of manual intervention has just rescued us. Oh dear, oh dear. Right, so that's the direction I wanted to go. Now we're into Alaska. So we'll synchronize our heading again. Left and right. That's done. Heading. We will continue this climb. VS. No, that was no lurch that time. That's what I wanted. So we're currently at 2,000 feet, and I don't want to smack into that hill, so we will turn to the left. Okay, that's looking good. We will select... Head tracking off can come off at this point. We will select a new altitude. I want to climb to 4,000 feet. Now, I need to tell it that I want to stop at 4,000 feet. So I need to go alt pre, otherwise it will just keep climbing. So, where was I? I was talking about the hat switch. So you will benefit from having a hat switch selected. A hat switch assigned. So usually on a hat switch with your helicopter you'll have rotor trim longitudinal up and down and rotor trim lateral left and right. So with the heading, the rotor trim lateral, can you see my heading bug moving? I'm going left on the hat switch and right on the hat switch, and that's moving the heading bug around. Very nice. Nice adaptation, that one. And with the vertical speed, I can use the longitudinal or the up and down hat switch to make the vertical speed go faster or slower. So look in this window here, 700, 600, 500, I'm going down, or 600, 700, I'm going up. So with alt pre-armed, it will level off at 4,000 feet. In fact, I might even go 5,000. No, I'll do 4,000 because that'll allow me to demonstrate another mode. And we can maybe just start to see Glacier up here. Very nice. So I want to come to the right. We will Just bring the hat switch to the right, and that moves the heading bug over, and it's a bit smoother. I don't know what that first lurch was all about. That was very disturbing. I was in attitude mode. Don't know quite what that was about. I thought my stick was pretty well centralized. That can sometimes be a problem. Very interesting. So we are off track, as you can see. So the magenta line is our track, and I have deviated from that track. So we will... I could ask for a direct to using the FMS, but I'm going to just intersect this line so I can show you how to achieve that in this system. Okay, it's doing everything that I want it to right now. I'm pretty happy with progress at this moment. Here's your glacier. I want to turn up this valley to the left. And then we proceed en route to Ketchikan. Actually, Loring we pass over first, and then Ketchikan on our slightly unusual route. Okay, we wanted to go up that valley there. Oh, those have come out again. Not what I wanted. Go away, thank you. Alright, let's take our left-hand turn. There's a quick look at the glaciers. We'll follow that valley to our left. And I'm just doing that with the hat switch, very easy. Okay, so now what's going to happen is we're going to level off at 4,000 feet. So as you can see, altitude is now on. Heading is on, and so as far as the helicopter autopilot is concerned, it's done all it needs to do. So I'm going to ask for it now to capture or to go onto IAS mode. So I'm going to just slow it down slightly. I'm going to go 135 on here. So we're going to see the speed come down. It's going to hold the speed for me. Collective coupling has come on. And the helicopter will keep everything stable for me. Now, I'm going to need to climb quite substantially here, so we might need to get a move on here. So, with IAS hold on as well, how do we do two things at once? Because now my up and down hat switch goes to the IAS. I'm going up and down on the hat switch, and as you can see in this window, that's now the IAS. So what about vertical speed? I can click that now. And I can go up, but I'm not doing... Well, that's down. I'm not doing that from the main hat switch. I need to do that from another switch. That's the beep trim up and down. And so you'll need another switch, preferably another hat switch maybe, to assign that somewhere as well. So you'll need to find somewhere else to do that. And it's your job also to monitor your speed and your torque here, because the helicopter could over-torque itself in trying to do what you ask it to do. I'm just going to follow the valleys using my eyes and the heading select, and we will intercept this navigation path shortly. So at the moment I've got no new altitude selected, it's just climbing up at a vertical speed of 800 feet, and we were just pushing the torque there, so I better not go any faster than 800 feet, or I could maybe slow down a little bit. That's one way of doing it. There are other ways also. In fact, what I will do is I'll ask it to level off at 5,000 alt pre, which is pretty much now. And now I'm going to show you yet another way to handle a change of altitude. So it's captured, so we've got alt, armed, or on I should say. We've got IAS on and heading on. So that's kind of where we were. I want to turn up this valley as well. Can we get it up? Oh, we've got a glacier to go and look at over here. Nice. And that'll get us back onto our path. Excellent. But we're going to have to get a move on. So here's another way to do it. It's to, this time I'm going to ask for 8,000 feet, but I am going to ask for it to do it with speed, but I'm going to take the collective coupling off and lower the speed and pull the collective. And also turn into here. So we go and have a look at that right over that glacier. Or glacier, seem to pronounce it both ways. So several things happen there all at the same time. I'll just explain them again in a moment. I'm just operating the collective manually right now to keep up the rate of climb. Might have been a bit optimistic, this particular path. Can I do it or not? I think I turned one valley too soon. I think I can do it. I think it can do it. Meanwhile, I can see we are possibly going to intersect our original path, so I'm going to ask for nav mode capture. And I'll just take you through what some of the things were. It's going to do it just nicely. Some of the things that just happened. We're now climbing through 6,000 feet. We are maintaining 120 knots. Why are we climbing? Because I took collective coupling off so that when I pulled the collective then manually, the extra energy has gone into, and this is not armed here, so I should have armed that as well, into increasing our altitude so that we will come to meet our selected altitude of 8,000 feet. So what will happen now is the helicopter will level off at 8,000 feet with this armed in here, and then I will need to re-engage the collective coupling so that the helicopter will take control of the collective again. Wow, look at that, it's just done that beautifully. And resume its, well, I'm going to call it, it's not VNAV at all, but it's going to resume its kind of path, you know, it's vertical navigation itself, but it's not vertical navigation, I'm just using the wrong term. That was actually kind of spectacular, I'm glad I took that route. So in a few moments, maybe in a minute or two, we're going to see this line come in, the helicopter will intercept that path and will turn to the right, and heading mode will come off and navigation mode will come on. And we will see Alt Pre move from armed to capture, and I will need to intervene and re-engage the collective coupling. It's fun, isn't it? This machine's quite flexible. It does quite a lot of different stuff. There's different ways of doing different things. I didn't need to climb like that, but I wanted to prioritize the rate of climb, and so I slowed the helicopter down by selecting a lower indicated airspeed, IAS, and I pulled the collective, and I was hitting 90% plus torque on here. And we're about to level off. We're at 7,700 feet now. The S-76 has performed beautifully. And we'll be commencing a right-hand turn shortly, once that bar starts coming in. Nice work, S-76. My one disappointment was what happened with that very first engagement of VS, which was unpleasant. Now, one mistake I made here is we went through 8,000 and I didn't have the collective coupling on, so let me try to repair that. So, because alt mode also was on, it's just going to hold 8,200 at this point, which, looking at these mountains, I feel comfortable with. Maybe, in fact, I will ask for 8,500 on here. Alt pre, every time you change that. VS, change it with my second control. 200 feet a minute, please. Still lots of torque available to it. Might even ask for 300 feet a minute. The bar is coming in now. The helicopter will turn itself to the right. Here it comes now. Nice work. So we've captured the altitude. This altitude will come onto on in a second, and nav will come to on, I believe. One of the easy mistakes to make here with this autopilot panel is to hit the standby button when you mean to hit the IAS button, which in standby it just clears out all of the commanded modes and you just end up with no autopilot, which is often not what you want. It's been some enjoyable mountain flying, alpine flying in Canada and Alaska. $8,500, alt on, nav captured, IAS is on. I'm going to ask for it to go a bit faster now. Again, it looks like I can get up to about 130 on here before getting into the red. I can do that with my longitudinal cyclic trim, which at the moment is going to the IAS. It switches automatically for me and is an excellent adaptation coded by Cowan Simulation. Well, I'm going to fast forward through the large part of the journey, but why don't I just take a quick moment to talk, which was shortcut? Here we go. We do have some basic features in the FMS down here. It's not the most sophisticated FMS you've ever seen. This update rate's very strange. In fuel, I've got 2 passengers on board, so I can enter there. Cargo, let's say I've got, I don't know, 600 pounds, I don't know, enter. So there's our zero fuel weight. It works all of that out for you and helps to use that to calculate how much fuel it thinks it will have on board. It thinks we're going to be burning another 200 pounds and thinks we'll be ending up with 300 pounds by the time we get to the end. So make a note of that. That seems conservative, to be honest. I think we might possibly burn a bit more than that, but we'll see. So more fuel calculations there for you. No VNav available to you in here, really. Interestingly, I'm seeing a bit more functionality in here. When I first tested this, I wasn't getting these magenta items worked out here. In fact, maybe I'm still not. I thought, I say I am counting down here. Yes, good. So I am counting down to my next waypoint, which is Loring, 13 Zulu. And so I'm 35 nautical miles away from Loring. That's counting down. It says I'm going to be there at 1943. It says that, I think I'm at 1943 now. So what's that about? The calculation is not seeming quite right. Am I missing something obvious here, people? If I'm seeing something, if I'm missing something in there, please tell me what it is in the comments. I'm not going to arrive there in 0 minutes. I'm going to arrive there in the amount of time it takes an S-76 to fly 34 nautical miles at 130 knots indicated at this altitude. So not at 1943. Anyway, so not the most fully featured FMS you've ever used. I understand this is straight out of the box. This is the same FMS that you see in the Saab 340, but it's just had a couple of little adaptations to make it work with the S-76. Otherwise, nothing too special to see there. Glorious scenery. Beautiful stuff. All right, I'm going to go into fast forward and I'll just make some gentle changes to the altitude to descend us as we go. Well, with 6 miles out from Annette Island, let's get a couple of things set up. Let's get that Annette Island VOR in on our nav radio 2, 1171. 1171 on nav 2. So, choose this, 1171. 1, please. There we go. Get that in here. And are we picking that up? Yes, we are. 34.2 nautical miles. And now the ILS 1093. 1093. It's already there. And what course do I want for that? 115. I assume I just need that in this one, but my superstitious habit is just to put them in both. This would be for if I were doing a radial on the VOR as well. So how are we performing here? 5,000 feet. Let's just continue that down to 4,000. So I'll just get that going now. 4,000 feet here, please. And remember, every time you change this, we ask for alt pre again. And we continue. So, fast forwarding again to get us a bit closer to the ILS intersection. So here's our ILS briefing. You can see that we are heading very obliquely. What's the opposite of obliquely? Perpendicularly onto Putty here. So I'm going to need to take some action to maybe get us a bit more sensibly into Wettol here. So I might actually ask us to get down to 2400 now. Let's get that in now. 2400. 2400 in here. VS, oh don't forget the alt pre, VS, and we start to reduce that now. That's the wrong way. 400 feet a minute there, let's go 500 feet a minute, and I'm also going to reduce the speed from 130 down to 110, just to slow things down a bit. The helicopter will take care of both of those things for me. It can walk and chew gum at the same time, the S-76. So I think the safe thing to do will be a couple of miles or a mile out, mile and a half out from Putty to go into heading mode, to change the navigation source to the ILS, and to bring the heading onto a more oblique, I guess, heading here so that it's got a better chance of cleanly intercepting the localizer, and then it can follow the glide slope down and not the glide scope, which I repeatedly called it in my last video about this topic. So the glide slope. So let's get a bit closer in here. Got 3, it's not quite neatly drawing that for some reason, but 4 miles left there, and this is a bit strange as well, the way that's drawn, isn't it? Why is that drawn like that? Is that the go-around procedure? Oh, it's a, I think it's drawn the, if you were coming from the other way, I think. Okay, let's just leave that be. So, to get ready for all of this, I do not want to let, that was a mistake, I accidentally bumped the gear, landing gear. So let's just left and right on the heading. And that synchronizes there, very tidy, very nice. 10.7 on the ILS now. That's good. We'll go off on the bleed air. We will go on the landing lights, which, why am I struggling with that? Here. We will ding the cabin. It's not that. That was a wrong button. There we go. We have dinged the cabin. We've got the exterior lights on. And we've still got 2 miles to run over here. Ketchikan's in there. We are looking very good. I want to intersect at about Wetall. So I think it's time to go into heading mode, and we change the nav onto ILS. And that's the wrong button again. Let's just get all that right. Okay, so we will arm the nav. So now it'll take the ILS. When it starts to intercept, we are turning onto that course a bit more tightly. And the next thing that will happen is this bar will come in, and here's the glide slope already. And here's the bar coming in. We've still got we've captured the nav. Just hit ILS capture as well. That's now in as also. And we are magically, just about, on an ILS approach, just like that. I think it's magical. ILS approaches in helicopters, I think it's just fabulous. Just fabulous. 9.4 miles on the ILS, and everything is just fine. We'll wait for it to get on the glide slope, and we will call this a 100% success. Beautiful work. Beautiful work, S-76 from Cowan Sim. Love what you've done here. And we've got glide slope capture. GS. 110 knots in the IAS. Let's play the arrival tape. Descent.
We're now on final approach. Please stay seated with your seatbelt fastened and prepare for landing. We'll be on the ground in just a few moments.
Okay, well, do you want to make this even harder? Simulated failure, engine number 2. So what happens over here? We have lost an engine. We have 1% torque only being generated by engine number 1. Engine number 2. Engine number 1. The scale you'll see here is now different, and we've got a green blob up here indicating a new 30-second power limit for that engine. So it is still flying us just beautifully. It is generating 94% torque, engine number 1, in single engine mode. You absolutely beautiful machine. That is fantastic. This is the first time I have seen this implemented so cleanly. A single engine performance in a twin engine helicopter. 94% torque being developed by our engine number 1 since I cut off engine number 2, and the ILS approach remains unaffected. Beautiful stuff. 1,300 feet, 5 nautical miles to go. I can also decel. So decel will take the helicopter down to the center line of the runway, fly it right down the center line of the runway at 70 knots. So decel is now armed, and you will see that come down to 70 knots when that engages. Oh, magic machine. Time to get the wheels down, I reckon. There you go. What are we actually going to do at the airport here? We are just going to vacate to maybe the left over here. Missed approach is climb 5,100 on heading of 124. Looking a little bit offset from the centerline here. Did I? Yes, in fact, so is that, isn't it? So is that. I'm just going to let the helicopter do its thing. Not thoroughly impressed with the the encroachment of these trees into the centerline of the runway either. So I'm ready on the stick now, and I'm going to take it into SAS mode once I have had enough of decel flying us down the centre line. Wonderful. I say the centre line, it's just not very centred, is it? Yeah, I can't explain that deviation from the centre line. Look at that. That's decel mode. I've not touched the thing yet. 70 knots, straight down, allegedly, the centerline of the runway. Beautiful stuff. I'm now going to flip to SAS, so we might get a bit of a jerk here. Not too bad. I'm lifting the nose to get rid of some speed. And we'll take the taxiway at the end on the left. You can see it now. And we hardly challenged engine number 1, did we? Even with engine 2 switched off. Although that was a bit of a weird moment there, just with the stick not being centered. Well, apart from my adventures of failing to center my non-centering stick, a phenomenon that the Cowan Sim S-76 does not appreciate, I am absolutely loving this machine. And please bear in mind, these detailed reviews are a lot of work, so I'd love it if you could repay me with a like, a subscribe, switching notifications on, whatever works for you. Thanks. And with these concluding thoughts, I'll show some twilight footage so you can see what the night lighting is like. Now, this is one of my 2 favourite helicopter releases so far in 2025, alongside the excellent but wildly different Taug's Hangar 500C or Cayuse. This machine is good because it succeeds in doing what only it does. Fast, stable travel with a multiplicity of autopilot and stability modes, which still offers enough engagement to keep the sim pilot happy. What other modern helicopter add-on does all of this at a cruise speed of 140 knots? And I remain in awe of those ILS approaches and that decel mode. It's, for me, brilliant, brilliant stuff. The S-76 is easy to start. The panel looks scary, but it's easy enough to handle when you know what you're doing. Visually, this add-on's fine, if not exactly spectacular. The visuals do the job and they don't distract me, especially since the recent update. And the modelling of details like the rotor machinery, that I find is seriously top-notch. I do hunger for what a native MSFS 2024 update would do for this add-on. I know for sure this helicopter would look noticeably better. Sound, again, fine. I'm not in love with that seemingly mono drone when we're sitting in the pilot seat, but all the other extras, things like ground contact sounds, tail rotor, landing gear, they're there and they're not bad. Documentation though, woefully lacking. However, the add-on has been out long enough now that you have resources like this video and knowledge on places like the Cowan Simulation Discord to call upon when you need it. And a shout out to the real life pilots who care so much about this machine that they've shown such generosity in helping out sim pilots like me. Thanks. Systems on this machine, pretty good. The autopilot is fantastic. The FMS perhaps not quite fully adapted for this machine yet. There are bugs reported on Discord. One pilot's pointed out that some of the navigation needles aren't pointing correctly, but overall things are generally working okay, and I remain seriously impressed that finally we see some progress in one-engine inoperative situations. In my opinion, that's the sort of thing helicopter simmers need. Developers, please, more of this. If you want to take advantage of the incredible oil and gas platform models in MSFS 2024 and you want to do some offshore flying, I can strongly recommend this purchase. Same too for things like corporate charters and navigating in busy commercial airspace. I look forward to hearing of your experiences. Comments are open, and I hope I'll catch you in another video featuring helicopter simulation content real soon. So, I'll see you later.